loud here? Yeah.
It's all about us.
Pack it
It
in.
is all. I realize that it is all about you guys. Realize that.
Matt, have you talked to Wilson Ramos?
I haven't talked to him personally, but we've spoken to the doctor. He's post-surgery now. Everything went well. He's heading back to Washington, and he'll be there when we get in tomorrow. But everything went really well.
What's your expectation as far as a timetable and how his strength might be? Obviously, no way to project that far, but you hear sometimes that power can be affected even once a guy returns from this type of procedure.
Well, for me, it's a bone, right? So the nerves were not affected. Everything seems to be okay. They remove the bone and they get it out of there, and you start your rehab. Time schedule, don't know. Different guys act different ways. So the traditional thing is 6 to 8 weeks. I don't know if it'll take that long. I view it as 4 to 6 potentially, depending on how he feels. But we've got great rehab folks here that do a nice job with these types of things. JJ's playing right now. He had his in spring training. He's playing, so that'll give you an indication of what it takes. So again, we'll monitor as we go, but probably 4 to 6 is my estimation.
Is this something that he was dealing with late in spring training?
You don't know. It manifests itself sometimes as wrist pain, so you don't think about that because you don't really get that spot necessarily. We don't know whether it started out as a stress fracture or what, but it oftentimes manifests itself as wrist pain, so you deal with the wrist. And then, again, it's rough to go through something like that, but what can he do now except rehab and get back, and he's focused on that.
Do you ask yourself or wonder if it could have been avoided?
I don't know. I don't know how you do. I mean, how do you avoid that? If in fact he's got a fracture in there, it's going to take some time anyway. And the indications weren't that it was a hamate; it was more wrist. So we gave him, toward the end of spring training, gave him a little bit of time off, and he felt okay. But 2 days ago, his third at bat, he just couldn't do it anymore. He just couldn't go. So and then at that point, all indications were, from all the manual exam that it was a hamate. So that's why we got a further test.
Matt, you've had 48 hours to reflect on your first game as a manager. Sitting in the dugout, reflect on some of the past managers you played for, some of the old school guys like Roger Craig,
Sure.
Buck and Bob Brenly.
Sure.
What was going through your mind and thinking about those guys as you made your debut?
Well, I have to tell you, I wasn't thinking about it at the time because there was a lot of moving parts on day one. But I've always certainly wanted to be in this position, and they've taught me a lot, all of them. I try to take a little piece from all of them, and use it at some point during this season or potentially the seasons beyond, and go from there. But I try to take a little bit from all of them to incorporate into our game as a whole.
And then the other thing is you're one of the few managers that has a defensive coordinator. You won 4 Gold Gloves. If you had a defensive coordinator back in your day, how many more you think you'd win?
Probably none. We just want to be in the right spot. We just want to, according to our pitcher and according to who we're playing, and their tendencies and our tendencies, want to be standing in the right spot when they hit it. So that's the only reason for it. It's important for us.
I'd like to ask you about Don Baylor.
Yeah.
Your reaction to what happened.
I can't believe it. I saw it on TV and thought, well, he twisted his ankle or something, but a fractured femur and all the surgeries he had to go through since. Don's a wonderful man, and wish him nothing but the best. I texted him, of course, he hasn't returned, of course, because he's going through all of that stuff, but I know he's dealt with some health issues in the past, and I just, I wish him well. That's a long road, though. It's a long process to get back.
Between after the game and now, has Bryce had to undergo any other further tests for concussion stuff?
No, he post game he went through another one. During the game he went through one. Post game, part of the protocol today is that he will hit. He hit, has some rest, evaluate how he feels. He'll go out for BP, he'll come in and rest, and we'll evaluate again how he feels. Sometimes, you know, concussion-like symptoms manifest themselves 24 to 48 hours after the fact. So we just have to keep monitoring that and make sure that he feels good before he goes out there today.
Has he noted anything
No.
since then to now? That he
No,
still feels-
he said he slept great last night. He has no, as of the time he got here today, he has no issue with nausea or dizziness or anything like that. So again, part of our protocol is to make sure that we monitor his BP today too, and if he has any issues, then we'll address it.
Matt, why was Sandy Leon the right guy for you to call up to back up Lobaton, and how much do you anticipate him starting for you guys? How do you see that shaking out?
Well, we don't know. I think it's a day-to-day process. But Sandy certainly played well in spring training. I first and foremost love his defensive prowess, and I think that's important for our club. I think he had a great winter ball, and from my understanding and talking to our staff, he has made some really nice improvements offensively from a year ago. So again, it came down to a decision in spring training that we were thinking about bringing him anyway, and so that's part of it, and that's a big reason why he's here today.
Matt, in terms of for your role, I mean, how much pressure does it put on you to have to make a decide on Harper in 6 minutes, basically, you had, whether he was able to be able to go back out? I mean, how much pressure is that on a manager with the concussion possible like that?
Well, we rely on the doctors. Again, I'm not a doctor. Lee certainly has a set of questions that he asks him, and those answers would dictate what he thinks. But we ultimately rely on the doctor and what kind of tests they administer, and their findings after the fact. So, I mean, that's what we go by.
What have you noticed in terms of the specifics of working with Anthony Rendon out at second base? Either just things you're surprised he's doing well, things you feel like he needs to work on?
I think Anthony's done well. He was a little bit trial by fire last year, playing third base the majority of his career, certainly, and being called to the big leagues and played at second base. But he's made nice adjustments. We worked on it in spring. He's continued to work on it. He's versatile. I think he's got better range than most folks think he has. Evident by game one, he made a nice diving play to his left. He's worked on turning the double play and making sure he can protect himself. Two, he can go ahead and turn it and get the ball to first base so we can get two out of it. He's done a really nice job, and he'll continue to work at it.